It is said in 2025, world population reaches 88 billion. On the other hand, global warming and climate change results in soil degradation and water scarcity. Consequently, food shortage and low quality of foods will be a social problem. So we have developed this film which plays the role of soil and water. The soil-related problems are degradation and contamination of soil, instability and inhomogeneity, replant failure, poor operability, huge water loss. By replacing soil with this film, these problems can be solved. This film looks like a usual vinyl film, but this is not one, because this film absorbs water and fertilizers. Let me show you a video. In this video, this film is laid on liquid fertilizer, and lettuce seeds are seeded on this film. Germination and the growing takes place on this film, and 2 weeks after seeding, you can see the fine roots adhere on top of the film, and the roots adhere so strongly that no leaves drops upside down the film. This is another video of TV program in Japan. Underneath the film is liquid fertilizer, and there is no soil. You can touch the leaves on the film. In the case of hydroponics, the roots of plants are immersed in liquid fertilizer. However, the roots of plants need oxygen to survive, so oxygen infusion or circulation and replacement is necessary. On the other hand, in the case of film farming, roots of plants are exposed on the film so they can absorb oxygen freely from the air. Therefore, they can escape from root failure due to insufficient oxygen supply. And in the case of hydroponics, if the liquid fertilizer is contaminated by germs or viruses, plants are infected easily because plants' roots contact water directly. But this is not the case of film farming. This is because plants are separated from liquid fertilizer by film. I would like to explain about this in next slide. Molecular size of fertilizers such as potassium or amino acid is a nanometer size, very small. On the other hand, the virus size is 80 times larger than glutamic acid, amino acids. And in this slide, ion, potassium ion, you cannot see, too small. And germs or bacteria is much larger than viruses. So the size of them are very different. And this is molecular design of IMEC film. The IMEC film is made of hydrophilic polymer. The single hydrophilic polymer chains are close-linked three-dimensionally, and the size of the three-dimensional network is less than nanometer size, close to nanometer size. So, small ions, potassium ions, or amino acids can pass through this network. However, virus nor germs cannot enter into and not pass through the network because of those large sizes. This is an experimental picture demonstrating selective permeation of IMEC film. In this experiment, red dye or carbon black is enclosed in a closed bag made of IMEC film. Small molecule red dye, which is modeling for fertilizers, can pass through the film and diffuse into the outside water. However, large particle carbon black, which is modeling for virus or germs, cannot pass through the IMEC film. So fertilizers in the solution underneath the film are absorbed by the film, but virus nor germs cannot be absorbed. Therefore, plants growing on the film are saved from the infection, even on contaminated fertilizer solution. This is a video, real video, showing baby leaves used in a restaurant, in New York restaurant. Baby leaves cultured on soil are brought in with soil. This is not good from a sanitary point of view. I believe there is a big business opportunity to use the IMEC film for baby leaf instead of soil. In fact, in Europe, such innovation occurs in some restaurants. Guests of the restaurants by themselves harvest baby leaf from the film. IMEC film has two features. One is a membrane function, and the other is hydrogel function. The membrane function, the membrane function is separational function, and the hydrogel function contributes to the high quality of clothes. The typical example of hydrogels are those used for diapers, baby diapers. The hydrogels of baby diapers are granular polymer and absorbs a lot of water. The absorbed water or urine cannot be squeezed out. And IMEC film is a kind of hydrogel in the form of film. So we cannot squeeze out the water absorbed by this film. Okay? In other words, the water in the IMEC film is immobilized water. This is completely different from free water. This is free water. We can drink this free water. but we cannot drink the immobilized water in the hydrogel. So the immobilized water is very hard to be absorbed, but plants can absorb the immobilized water by attaching their roots onto the surface of the IMEC film. The roots are very fine roots. This is because the plants need to increase the surface area of the roots in order to efficiently absorb water from the IMEC film surface. In hydroponic cultivation, such fine roots do not appear. These are the very fine roots. And in the case of hydroponics, such fine roots does not appear. The fine roots at first stretch in air and then they adhere on top of the film. When tomatoes are cultured on the IMEC film, tomatoes become very sweet. This is because tomato produces sugar at high concentration in order to increase their osmotic pressure for absorbing such immobilized water from the IMEC film. We call such sweet tomato as a fruit tomato. The definition of the fruit tomato is more than 8% sugar content. Current technology uses salt stress to produce such sweet tomatoes. They use high concentration of fertilizers, exceed 10 in terms of EC. Meanwhile, we use common concentration of fertilizers, around 1 or 1.5 in terms of EC. That means the stress is not salt stress, in this case, pure water stress or drought stress. In the case of salt stress, the plants suffers hypersalt hindrance, hypersalt damage, so the production volume decreases. But it's not in the case of film farming. And water stress, drought stress, not only contributes to the high sugar content, but also contributes high concentration of functional amino acids, such as glutamic acid or GABA. GABA represents gamma-butyric acid, which reduces blood pressure and alleviates various human stresses. So very functional components. We think the fruits, such fruits, tomato, can be a new basic food from Japan. Fruits tomato production originated in Japan, and our IMEC technology makes its production so easy for not only farmers but also non-farm people. So IMEC fruit tomato will penetrate from Japan throughout the world like Japanese authentic food, like sushi or wagyu. This is the structure of IMEC farming bed. We can set this IMEC bed on ground directly. The ground can be anything. That is to say, the concrete or sand, anything is okay, because we put the waterproof sheet at first. This is usual vinyl film, nothing pass through. And on that, we put a lower drip tube to supply the fertilizers. And this is non-woven fabrics. It's set on the drip tube to spread the liquid fertilizer evenly underneath the film. And on that, we put the hydrogel film, IMEC film. And in addition to this, we put another drip tube over the IMEC film. The necessity of this upper drip tube may be confusing. So let me briefly explain about this. As I said before, the water in hydrogel film is very hard to be absorbed by plants. The immobilized water in the film improves the quality of crops, but decreases the production of crops. On the other hand, in order to absorb the immobilized water, a fine roots that efficiently absorbs water grows on the hydrogel film. Therefore, when free water is added from the upper side, water is absorbed quickly while drying the upper side of the film. As a result, you can increase production with additional water from the upper drip tube while maintaining high quality of crops. Let me show you a video demonstrating actual setting of IMEX system in greenhouse. This is a typical Japanese greenhouse. At first, we set waterproof sheet, and on that, we set the lower drip tubes, and then spread non-woven fabrics on top of the lower drip tube. And on that, spread hydromembrane IMEC film on that. And we use a peter moss, 1 cm thick peter moss to cover the roots, fine roots. And on the polystyrene foam board, we put another drip tube and then cover with melting film for keeping water vapor inside. We use a very small seedlings to start the cultivation. This is the water supplying system in IMEX system. This is the immediate after planting. And this is 3 weeks, 6 weeks. The growing speed is not so different from soil culture or hydroponics. So we can start the harvest of crops, tomatoes, after 10 weeks. And you can see the roots from underneath the film every day. Underneath the film is always wet. And irrigation is done by automatically. The most important point is quality of crops. The bricks of the tomato is about 10. Very sweet and delicious. So the setting of IMEC bed is very easy. You can set without heavy machines, and the cultivation environment is very clean. And not only tomato, you can also cultivate cucumbers using IMEC system, melons, paprikas, peppers. And in the case of peppers, you can get higher vitamins compared to hydroponics. And we can culture strawberries also. However, the most profitable crops is sweet tomato, because the IMEC fruits tomato is sold at the fruit section at high prices. Usual tomato is sold at the vegetable section, but IMEC fruits tomato is sold at fruit section. So we can sell different prices. This is a profit balance of IMEC and hydroponics. In 1 hectare area, the annual yield of IMEC is lower than hydroponics, almost 1/3 of hydroponics.